just want to add real quick, we set aside some time toward the end for anyone from the public, if you're going to come up to the podium. Just remember to limit your time to about to 3 minutes, because we might have a few people that want to speak. So just limit your time to 3 minutes, and we'll try to make sure we get you to the podium. The board has a special meeting right after this, so we don't want to try to prolong it, but we want to try to make sure we get to that special meeting, get that done. Here with the county and the city guys, like I said, it's good to have us all here, space at the table. And let me just put this out there: we can agree to disagree, and at the end of the day, we still should be able to get along with one another. So hopefully, once we get done with this meeting, if it goes one way or goes another way, we still should be.
She can't hear you.
Can't hear you. You can pull it a little bit closer to you or speak up a bit.
I got to redo my speech. But like I said, we've been working well together, and the county is here to assist the city, and vice versa. So we really appreciate you guys coming to the table with us. With that being said, Mayor, you got anything before we go to our?
No, I'm just glad to be here today, that all of us are, wanting to work together to solve our problems that goes on in this city and county, and I look forward to things continuing with the city and the county working together.
Okay. All right. With that being said, we'll start with the city manager or county administrator.
What we have today is we have been approached by a developer who was looking to annex in the old school site, which was formerly known as the Highland View site. That has been, an application has been submitted to the city to come in, and also to come in with a designation of R4, which is up to 30 units per acre. We do have the developer here today that would be willing to, I believe he's willing, Mr. Zach Farrell, to come and speak on the project, to give you a little bit of history of the project, where they're going with it, and try to help with any question, concerns we may have today. Mr. Hammond, do we want to proceed with him? Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Mr. Farrell, do you want to give an overview of the project?
Basically, I think even before the storm, everybody was hollering about housing. Since the storm, it's even worse, especially workforce housing. Displaced residents that work here, used to live here, are now in northern Gulf County and Weewa. They're having to commute. That's extra expense on them. So we basically, decided to look at an area to put multifamily apartments, and the city already has the zoning for it, and so that's the reason we decided to annex in, to go to the R4. We're not going anywhere close to the number of units we could get. We're only going to about 63% of that, and I've heard the rumors about it's going to be 60, 70 feet tall. It's 4 stories, so you're looking at about 40 feet. If we put some crazy roof, that's just that much more expense for nothing. Here are some examples of 4-story apartment products. Another reason we thought we could do the R4 was also because literally right across Redfish is 2 acres that is designated as R4 residential. I mean, R4 that's in the city already. So it's pretty contiguous. It's just right across the street from us. So we didn't see any reason why it would be that big a deal. That's basically it. I mean, we're just trying to get some workforce housing for our teachers, for law enforcement, first responders, you name it. Even service industry folks and so forth. We're currently in the middle of our market study to determine the unit breakup mix as far as 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, what the needs are. They'll also figure out price points on that. The market's going to dictate it. If we build 170 units and only half of them are full, then obviously we got to start dropping prices. So that's you know, basically it. I think I've looked at it from a number of different ways. It's a huge, for the county and the city, it's a huge tax revenue. For the city, it's a huge water revenue, sewer. You know, and it's just a huge need we need here in the county.
All right, that's it, sir. All right. Any commissioners got any questions?
I have some questions.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah,
I'd
slide.
like to stand if I could. Thank you. Is it Farrell or
Yeah,
Ferris?
Farrell.
Farrell.
I apologize, and too, the clerk asked me to state your name and your address for the record, please.
That's my fault.
Name Zach Farrell, address is 736 Driftwood Drive, Lynn Haven, Florida.
Mr. Farrell, it's obvious, there's a lot of people here, some pros, some cons. Who owns this property?
We will own this property.
No, who? I need some names. Who is the owner of this? old
Today.
Island View?
Today. You're saying
Who
today.
owns the property?
Right now,
Yes.
it's a gentleman from Nashville, Tennessee.
Anybody know his name? Anybody? You know his name?
It's on public record. I don't know.
No, I'm asking you.
I
You're the
don't
one
know
up
his
here.
name. I'm dealing with the
Okay.
real estate agent.
All right, that's good. Has this property been annexed into the city?
That's what we're doing as we speak.
Okay, but it's still a county property.
Yes, I believe so.
Well, I think so. It's either the counties or the cities, and if it hadn't been annexed, it's the counties.
Okay.
All right. What about your the traffic lanes and all? How are you gonna handle that?
DOT will do a traffic study, and then we will address that once
All right,
DOT.
y'all hold down. I'm trying to get some answers for you good people.
DOT will do a traffic study, and if they come up that we've got to find a turn lane on our property, then we have to build a turn lane. If they decide that stoplight is best there, then that's DOT's regulations.
All right, you say it'd be 4 stories.
4 stories.
How many elevators you gonna have in this unit?
It depends the buildings, how they're laid out, but there'll be probably at least 2 elevators per building, at least.
All right. What about fire? Will they have sprinkler systems in them for fire protection?
I don't know. I don't know the code on that. If the code calls for it, we will certainly have them in there. We have to build 2
Now,
floor
are these
code.
units gonna be purchased by people or are they rental
They are
units?
100% rental units.
What kind of price range we talking about?
That's what the market study's for that we're doing right now, spending a lot of money to do.
All right, that's good enough. You gonna have a retention pond there?
Yep, 1.8 acres.
1.8.
20.
We're talking about approximately 9 acres. Am I correct there?
Correct. 9 acres in the state of Florida is 20% rule.
All right, and I'm sure if the city annexes this in, I'm feel sure that they have setbacks. So when you take 9 acres, you're gonna take 1 acre of it for a retention pond.
It'll be 2 acres.
2 acres for
Almost
retention
one-
pond, so
1.8.
that's cutting us on down a little more, isn't it? All right, and your parking area. Explain that to me. How you gonna park these? Because if you're gonna have, give me the number, you said you were gonna have,
160 to 170.
all right, 170 rental units. And if everybody in here is like I am, I think I got 4 vehicles, I may have 5, I don't know, but most people got 2, some 1. Where we gonna park all these vehicles?
In the parking lot that we create with the buildings.
All right, when you put all these units there, there's not gonna be a lot of room left.
We've had an architect already do some preliminary layouts, and they feel comfortable with the 160, 170 units, and they got all the parking that's required by the city.
Well, I'm gonna ask you one more question. I've got about 15 items here. Have you, or anyone went to the people in the neighborhood and asked them, get their input?
We have it.
Hadn't talked to not one person. Not one person. Have y'all talked to about what's coming into their neighborhood?
We've talked to a number of people in the city, around the
No, I'm
city.
talking about in the neighborhood. Oh, please, please, in the neighborhood. Have you went out and polled the community?
No, we haven't. We haven't gotten to that point yet.
Okay. Well, I'm just wondering too, what if we decide you want to build it down there on the old, hospital site? I bet you'd have to poll those people, because if not, they'd be hot and heavy about it.
I imagine anybody
I
with
guarantee you.
any
they
development
would.
coming
I
into any
guarantee you, you
neighborhood.
try to put it on that old hospital site, you would have a fight on your hands. say the two bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, 4 bedrooms,
1 to 3s.
1 to 3 bedroom units, yeah, would be for long-term rental,
Long-term
short-term rental,
Long-term rentals,
when you say long-term, at least 1 year,
6 months,
contract,
6 months,
6 months contract,
minimum 6 months.
minimum of 6 months, all right, that sounds, all right. Are you gonna have a master water meter, or will each individual complex have a,
From what I'm
tell me how
understanding,
you're gonna do that?
what I'm understanding from the engineers, each building will have one master meter, and then they will be individualized to each unit from there.
All right, and sewer too?
Yes.
When are you anticipating starting this project?
Perfect world, beginning of next year, realistically, Q2 to Q3 next year. We got about at least 6 months of architectural engineering work to do.
All right, okay. And what's your price range on these?
Like I said, that's what the market study, the professionals that we hired to do the market study will start dictating for us.
All right, is it gonna be all electric, combination, gas, electric?
We
Kind of
haven't looked at that yet.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Mhm.
I just want to ask a few questions to some people. Thank you.
All right, any other commissioners?
I have one question, just, have y'all looked at any other property to do this except for where you're looking at? Something that wouldn't have to be annexed into the city, maybe, that's already in the city?
There's nothing available. This was for sale. Like I said, we saw that there's R4 on 2 acres right across the street from it. So it just kind of made sense it just kind of fell together.
That's the only question I have.
All right, any other commissioners?
Zach, let me ask you this. The market in town right now, I'd probably say is $1,200 to $1,500 rent,
Mhm.
anywhere you go. I've seen as high as $1,800 and $2,000.
For small units.
Yeah. We're kidding ourselves if we think these are for workers. We got policemen, we got firemen, we got the workers at the county, workers at the city. They can't afford that,
Oh,
Zach.
yeah.
Let's just be perfectly honest.
Oh, yeah.
This is not for workers.
On the high side, our 3 bedrooms will probably be in the 12 to 1,300.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you're talking about 2 bedrooms and 1 bedrooms being around 1,000 and less than 1,000.
Zach, y'all gonna get as much as possible as you can out of these rentals, regardless.
Of course. I mean,
And if that market drives it to 15 to 2,000, you're gonna get that. That's what you're gonna do. And I never see you getting $1,000 out of any of these. You're gonna drive that market higher. That study's you're gonna drive it higher, because there's nothing in town right now for $1,000, Zach.
I understand that. That's why we're trying to bring this product.
Zach, let's
It's
be
170
honest,
units.
let's be honest.
It's 170
You can play
units.
that card about it being for workers. That's a joke. The county's in the process right now. We wanna build single-family homes. Give people a place to buy. That's gonna be $700 to $800 a month. And they will own that piece. These are gonna be for rentals, Zach. Let's be honest.
They are for rental.
What I'm saying, this is gonna be for the rental market, people coming into town. It's not gonna be for workers. A lot of our people are having to move to the north end or live in other counties even to afford to live here, to work. And they can't do it. So, that's my thoughts on it.
Thank you, sir. All right, anyone else?
Zach, what percentage of, once you develop the land and apartments or whatever comes up, what percentage of the apartments, would you say that would be designated for the working people? I mean, will you have a percentage that they're guaranteed to, that you're gonna have these working people in these apartments?
That is our market that we're going for.
The thing that.
These aren't vacation rentals.
That's the only thing that's concerning me. I don't want it to be vacation rentals.
Yeah,
where
it's
people
not
come
vacation.
in, you charge them $3,000 a week, they spend the week and they gone, you know. We need people here, our teachers, and people here that are commuting back and forth. We need them somewhere to stay, something decent, but we need to be a actual affordable housing or apartments. And as for me being with the city, you know, the money that it's gonna generate for the city, I have to look out for the city. And the money it's gonna generate for the city will be great, you know. But we also have to look at our citizens too. And right now, I'm kind of torn in between, but I really think that some affordable housing or apartments are necessary.
Okay.
And I appreciate what you're doing. If we can get it where we're guaranteed that these homes will be made affordable for our citizens, for people that need to, somewhere to stay, I'm down for it. But I actually want to see something saying that this is what it's for, and the price range or something like that. But for now, I'm kind of torn right now.
Well, I mean, to be perfectly honest, when you go to an apartment developer in Atlanta, Orlando, whatever, and you tell them, hey, we're gonna put 170 apartments in Port St. Joe, Florida, they laugh at you.
Yeah.
We know, being here, living here, having businesses here, we know the market, we know the need. We're not worried about transient people, like I told Commissioner McDaniel. It's minimum 6-month lease. So it's people that are here. There's teachers and folks that work in the hotels, and they're living in Weewa now, driving down. You know, that's 250 miles a week. That's $50 in gas a week. That's $200 in a month. It's $2,400 in a year. I mean, you know, that's $200 they could put towards their rent. Our market is the workforce folks, just like it is in Orlando, around colleges or wherever else. It's college kids, and that's the same price range as workforce. So it kind of goes hand in hand. We don't need it for college, but we need it for workforce. I do see some, when Tyndall gets going again, I see some soldiers coming over because they don't want to go into Panama City Beach to rent. They'd rather be over here in a little bit slower pace of life. So I you know, I don't know.
I understand.
You know.
I understand what you're saying. That's just something that was on my mind. I needed to get out.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I understand. All right.
And Zach, I applaud you for getting up here, man. I wouldn't want to get up here today either. But, I just want to be perfectly clear. I'm pro-city, have been. I served on the board, on the city board. But I still think we need to take into consideration the people in Highland View have been there all their lives.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to look at down the road what impact this is going to have on the community as a whole. Do we want to be Destin or Panama City Beach or?
Well, I don't see this being Destin or Panama City Beach. I mean, this is going 4 stories. The county
Well,
allows
let's be
50
honest.
feet.
When you go to R4,
Mhm.
I mean, you can stand here and tell us that you're only gonna build 4 stories. That R4 is gonna let you build up to that 30 units per acre.
We're not going any taller. Any taller, it's about a 30% increase in build.
Yeah.
So that's off the table.
But I think it changed the whole dynamic of the town. And I know the city needs more tax base, no doubt about it. I live in the city. I'm all for the city getting more tax base. But I think we've got to be smart on our growth. And if we ever open that door with high-rise condos, you'll never be able to close that door. It's over. And the one thing I've heard from a lot of people that come here, they come here because they don't want to go to Destin and Fort Walton anymore. It's so congested in that area, and a good example, everybody knows about the red light in Highland View, how much congestion that was. Well, you're talking about now, on this project, you're adding, Michael, what'd you say, how many trips are we adding? 1,700 trips?
1,760
A day.
County complaint. 10 trips per unit per day.
Yeah.
I thought national average was around 6.5% trips on a low-rise apartment complex.
The county comp plan is based on 10 trips per day, and 2 units would be about 350 parking places and 1,760 trips based on the county comp plan.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be pretty close to the city's comp plan. But either way, whether it's
Yeah.
1,700, whether it's 1,200, it's gonna require turn lanes and all those kind of things. It's gonna be big congestion.
I mean, there was a school there before. How many trips was going on there when the school was there.
Lord, it hasn't been there in,
But it was there.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of traffic due to it.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry. Go on.
That's all.
I lived right up the road from when the school was there. The traffic in town, the traffic on 98 was not near what it is now. The school was a plus for that community. The kids walked to school, they had a playground there to play in, it was all a plus for the community. The community is very concerned out there right now about what is going to happen to their community. You know, I've asked and asked. I found out today that you were the one that was developing it, you know? These people out here, they're here because they wanna know what's going on in their community. You know, we wasn't able to find out anything. Y'all didn't come out and say, this is what we're gonna do. All we got was rumors from everybody, you know? And that's the reason people are concerned.
Yeah.
You know, we have been misled before. And that's what we don't want. We want to know up front so we can make plans for that kind of stuff.
This is exactly what I'm telling you, is exactly, we either do this as what we're telling you, or the project doesn't happen at all.
Well, you know, today I heard, you know, I had a lady that's lived in Highland View most of her life. And she's in her 70s. She said, they're gonna put low rental, and they're gonna put low, income housing right now, you know, I understand. But I'm saying this so you'll know where these people are coming from.
Yeah.
You know, we have asked and wanted to know, we were not told. It's a secret to everybody. So that's one reason at our board meeting, I asked to have this workshop. Because I wanted to know what was going on. I want these people to know what's going on. Thank you.
Like Commissioner McCrone said, and I applaud you for getting up in front of all these people. But Commissioner Rogers touched on something that was very important. He said we've been around this track before. And I was on this board when this same person came right before us, showed us, we had some pretty townhomes that were supposed to be built in our community. All of a sudden, they flipped it to apartment complex. And the whole time, they were selling us a good story. We had a meeting one day where we opened it up to the public, just a public meeting with the developer. As soon as I walk out, get in my truck, get ready to leave, I look back, I see the developer passing out shirts saying, we support this. The board or the county, nobody never was against it. We were just trying to make sure they was gonna do what they said they was gonna do. And they end up flipping, and we end up with an apartment complex. So, I mean, if the city moves forward with, or whatever the plans are, like Commissioner Langston was saying, if you're gonna guarantee some rent prices in a certain range, I can see it. I'm like Commissioner McCrone, man, when those people start coming in here, from the tourists start coming in here, and you open up one of those things, you open up 5 or 6 of those things, it's all about making money. Let's be honest. It's all about making dollars. And if I can rent my place for $2,000 a week, or apartment for $2,000 a week, I'm gonna rent that apartment for $2,000 a week. So let's just be honest. So you need to have some type of guarantee that it's not gonna happen, or to me, it just seemed like the same old, same old. Somebody telling us, yeah, we're gonna do this. But when dollars start talking, people start changing.
Well, like I said, how we guard against that is by doing long-term leases. Tourist is not gonna come in and sign up for a 6-month or a year-long, rental.
Let me ask you a question. What if, those 6 month, that 6-month lease is gone, and somebody come in and wanna rent it for a week?
No, the leases will be, each
Okay.
lease will be minimum 6 months, a long-term rental.
I can tell you this, Eric. Man, if I own one of them, and after that 6 months, I get $2,000 a week, I'll be getting it.
But hey,
y'all aren't selling them.
We're not selling them,
Yeah.
we own them,
Yeah.
the whole thing, we're not selling them off to individuals or anything like that, doing VRBO or anything. We will be running the whole project.
What if y'all change your mind? What if you change your rules?
We can't,
What says you can't? Who says you can't? If you own it, you can do anything you want.
I mean, that's the
You can
business,
sell individual units if you have to, if you get in a bind.
that's, our business plan is to hold, long-term hold.
You're gonna do whatever the market drives you to do. If it gets to the point where you wanna get $2,000 a week, that's what you're gonna do. And you'd be crazy not to.
Well, we can't get 2,000 a week there.
Well, whatever you could get a week, if you get $700-800 a week, you know, so, but, you know,
Well, I have a vacation rental management company, and I know what transient renters do to properties and how they beat them up and how it's a maintenance nightmare. And long-terms are a lot better to control that and keep up the property. And so we have no desire to do short-term rentals there.
Yes, sir, yes, sir.
So, when you say y'all run it, there will be no customer in it. I can't go in there, sign a 6-month contract with you and turn around and
No, you
bring
can't, you
somebody
cannot
else in.
sublet, you cannot sublet, per the leases and the contracts. And not only that, you know, we're gonna be, just this complex alone will be an extra 8 to 11, 12 jobs that we're creating by just doing this project. You know, we got security, we got a leasing specialist, a couple of maintenance folks. I mean, it's, you know, creates a few jobs itself.
I guess what we're trying to say, Zach, you know, when you build this thing and you're going back to Lynn Haven over there, we're gonna be stuck with all the headaches.
I'm
You know.
here, my offices are here in Penn.
Well, I understand that, but you don't live here, you know what I'm saying? And
I lived here for 15 years.
that's fine, I've been here for 52 years, so, but what I'm saying is we're gonna be stuck with all the headaches, the policing. Has anybody thought about the policing side of it, the fire side of it?
Though, the city would have to address that, but with the tax revenue, I think it will easily cover that.
All right, Zach, you go ahead and take a seat, appreciate it,
Everything.
appreciate it. All right, go ahead, Mike.
I know the public wants to speak, so I'll be quick. I get to be the bad guy. I'm gonna step out of my position a minute and say that I guess the next time any of y'all are up for election, the public needs to ask, are you in favor of 30 units an acre anywhere in the county and the city? Because I don't know many locals that are in favor of 30 units per acre. My entire life, the city's maximum was 7 units per acre. And it's news to me that the property adjacent to this is R4. I don't know of any development in the city of Port St. Joe proper that is R4 anywhere. One of the commissioners, Commissioner Ashbrook, told me that it was only north of the Highland View Bridge. And I think that's probably for a reason, because the citizens of Port St. Joe that can vote would not be in favor of 30 units per acre. There are about 6,000 vacant lots in Guth County. We don't have a lot shortage, so we don't need to increase density. There's a reason that we have low density in the county. It's 4 units an acre. It used to be 7 in the city. I guess that would be R2. But, you know, the county, I butted heads with Bill Williams a lot. The county's got an interlocal with y'all. And in 2005, it's pretty clear. And it states that, let's see if I can find my notes here. Number 4, where's number 4? City and county agree to plan the use of potential annexed areas in close proximity to existing developed areas via workshops between the city and the county. Future annexations will not occur within the Highland View community without a referendum. And that was in direct result of the Barefoot Cottages, where the county told the developer they could get 7 or 9 units because it was basically a very wet piece of property. And we don't give credit for wetlands, and the city told them they'd get 120. And they annexed it, and before anybody knew it, they had built Barefoot Cottages. This was updated in 2013, but in paragraph 1, it says the following paragraphs of the agreement from 2005 are waived, covered by state law, or hereby eliminated and removed, and neither party is under any further obligation regarding these paragraphs as follows: 1, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 15. They left 3. Number 1 that they left was this annexation deal. Number 2 was a water deal, and number 4 was when they reached 50% of the units, they had to build a fire station. The city would have to build a fire station. It's clear that the vast majority of calls we've got have been that the residents of Highland View do not want this annexation to go through. They don't want the traffic, they don't want the height, and I don't know, I'm pro-development, so please don't say that I'm anti-development, but I'm not pro blowing up density, because this is just the canary in the coal mine. The next one, if this happens, it'll be at the Cape and it'll be at St. Joe Beach, which the city limits of Port St. Joe is right at the Pine Street at St. Joe Beach today. That's where the real money would be. It's not this particular deal. I think it's clear that it would require a referendum if the county commission didn't waive that fee. And it's clear that the public, especially the folks that have to live right there next to this, is not gonna be for this development. Now, I agree, and I take Zach at his word that he would not do it. But Zach ain't gonna live forever, and he's not gonna own this forever. And once you change this to R4, they can go 60 feet to the eve, and they can go 30 units. And even at what they're requesting is gonna be an astronomical deal. And I don't know if it's 4 feet, 4 stories on pilings. I mean, the flood zone elevation is gonna require you to build 9 or 10 feet off the ground in that particular area. So it's gonna have to be on pilings. So I don't know if it's 3-story on pilings or 4, but either way, just like you said with the low-income housing development on Clifford Sims, what was presented was one thing, what we got was something different, and once you allow this to go forward, you lose control, because you get whatever you can get. The city allows 60 feet to the eve, and they allow, in this particular zoning, 30 units. Once you change it, you're out of the equation. So I just leave that for y'all to think about, and I know there's a lot of folks that want to talk.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, so what we're gonna go ahead on and do, we're gonna open it up to the public, give the public a chance to speak. We only got, just remember, you only get 3 minutes, to come up. And so, please try to limit your comments. Yes, and when you come to the podium, please state your name and your address for the record, please. Please state your name and address for the record. All right, come on up, sir.
My name is Doug Kelly, I live in Highland View, 511 Pomino Street. What I'd like to know is this: I don't know why y'all think, and I'm talking about the city, with what Michael just said, it looks to me like ain't nothing you can do about it. Would you not agree?
As far as having to do a referendum?
No, that's there. What I'm saying is, you want to go across there and you want to annex it and shove this down your throat. And I'd just like to know how you feel, how you think you can do that with that interlocal agreement sitting there blocking it.
What is the city attorney? I'd like for the city attorney to weigh in, because what I've been briefed on is in conflict from what Mr. Hammond shared a minute ago.
I'm looking at the amended restated interlocal agreement, which is dated 17th day of September 2013. I believe that has been presented or placed in front of, on the table there. If you look at item 6, it specifically iterates, the city agrees to strictly comply with state law with regard to future annexations and will notify county of any proposed annexation activity prior to any public hearing. As required by state law, no involuntary annexation shall take place without a referendum. Then if you look at number 12, it says this document represents the complete and final understanding of the parties and incorporates and supersedes all prior negotiations, agreements, and understandings applicable to the matter contained herein.
So that speaks to an involuntary annexation, correct?
No, sir. It speaks to both. Involuntary, involuntary.
The crux to the matter, if I can state the county position, is this. If you're going to, and it's gobbledygook, and we paid good money for both city attorneys city attorney and county attorney to write it. If you're going to say that everything's stricken, that's one thing. But they go through and it says paragraphs 1, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 15 are stricken or complete. That means that you're leaving 4, 13, and whatever the other one was in there. There's no reason to say that we're gonna strike these if we're gonna strike the whole damn thing and start all over again. So it's clear to me that it's still in there. Now, the last page that he just read is something in there that is a little bit confusing, if it's voluntary, involuntary, whatnot. But it's clear to me that it was left for a reason, because it didn't strike it. And it didn't strike 3 things. One was the fire department, one was a water rescue, and one was the annexation in Highland View. That's
These people ought to have a right to decide whether they want it there or not. And correct me if I'm wrong, like,
That's your time, Mr. Doug.
are we done?
Yes, that's your
Damn,
time.
I'm sure we wasn't.
I may have took some
Okay, all
of his
right,
time.
come on, Mr. Doug, come on back, Mr. Doug.
Doug, I took some of your time.
Come on back real quick, let me come on. We'll give you one more minute, Mr. Doug.
I'm Suzanne Lyon.
Hold on, we'll come back. Let Mr. Doug go, Miss Suzanne.
I'm sorry.
We'll give him 1 minute.
What I want to know is, I remember one time in Lynn Haven, I read this in the paper, that Lynn Haven wanted to annex a piece of property in Southport. And a Florida statute, I could be wrong, the way I read it, but a Florida statute said you could not go across a body of water to annex a piece of property unless nobody opposed it within like 30 days. If that happens to be true, this here is opposed now. It was done last week, it was done probably a year ago if somebody wanted it. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if that's true or not, but I did read that.
The Reader's Digest version, to answer your question and to end this particular part, is if the county doesn't object, or in the worst case scenario, file suit to block it, it happens. That's how it happened initially. They jumped the canal back in 90-something and nobody objected. And that's where we are, and it's the same thing. And typically, if you don't object, and we don't like to get in arguments back and forth until we get to this stage. But that's how, you know, there's a lot of things that was done with annexation in the past. Nobody here was on any of these boards back then, but you have enclaves, you got Windmark Beach that's not in the city, but all around it. You've got St. Joseph Shores that's not in the city, but all around it. You've got Highland View that's not in the city, but zigzagging in and out. One block is and one block's not. So that's how you get to these
And the
problems.
deal he was talking about, Robertson's property, that was done before that interlocal agreement.
That is correct.
Yeah, that's how that got in the city, for some people don't know that. So, if this goes in, probably the next step, somebody's gonna be wanting to sell some land right across the street from it. And gonna be wanting to put some up there, and then possibly, once you get some sand out there in front of 98 in the water where them people owns that property, they might wanna put some there. It just don't need to be put in. I just went over the overpass a while ago, coming up here, and I seen between the body shop and the dollar store, there's 5 acres of land for sale right there, right in the city. They'll put it right there. I mean,
All right, thank you, Mr. Doug. We're gonna move on. All right, Miss Suzanne, come on up. State your name and your address for the record,
I'm
please.
Suzanne Lyon. I live at 425 Redfish Street in Highland View. I found out about this meeting yesterday. I found out that by speaking to Jimmy Rogers, that they found out on May 8th and had a meeting on May 9th from the county, okay? That's pathetic. The only reason that I knew about it was I found it online in the Star yesterday, okay? And I went out yesterday and I have trouble in the heat. I have trouble outside. I talked to 37 people, and that's hard to do during the day because the people are working, okay? I talked to 37 people, and everyone signed saying they did not want it. Not one person said they did. And I'm sorry, but there is not an apartment building in Highland View. And across the street from Highland View is water. That water washed away 98. We have one lane going each direction. We cannot evacuate any direction, anywhere except 98. That's the only way out there. And to put 170 units in there and 350 cars, that's more than the people in the whole community. Now, that doesn't seem fair to me at all, and it doesn't seem that if there was to be a referendum, which is what the understanding is of everybody I spoke to, if there's to be a referendum, how come none of these people knew? And how come the remaining people who are at work today, that's why they're not here at 4 o'clock, they didn't know either? This has been very underhanded, and I'm very disappointed, because for the city to go ahead and work toward annexation without talking to county commissioners on a county piece of property, I think is pretty sad. I really do. And I tried to reach the lawyer, his number's disconnected. Now, I don't know, but I checked on the law, site as well as just the local site. So it's a little upsetting that I was unable to reach you, Jerry, just personally. Please check your number. But if you
Suzanne,
can see, yeah, my time's up, that's fine.
Yeah. go ahead.
Suzanne, I'll be happy to talk to you after the meeting. I apologize. My office is in the warehouse out in the industrial park right now.
We understand.
And our phone lines from MediaCom and Fairpoint are still not functional. So there is a temporary number, but I'll be happy to talk to you. And then hopefully, ideally, after 8 months, we're going to be moving in next week. And the phone lines will be back up on the old numbers versus the temporary. So I apologize for that inconvenience.
Many of us still have red
Yeah.
wounds, and we do understand.
Thank you. And I apologize for not being able to talk to you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Suzanne.
Mark Lyle, 182 Bonita Street, Highland View. Most of y'all know me. Mr. Hammond, I want to say thank you. You ain't gonna hear that very often. This is new to me, but there's a lot of things going on here that a lot of people don't like. Y'all the ones gonna have to hash it out. But you mean to tell me there's no place else in the city limits that they could look at, buy land, put this? Another thing, right around St. Joe, how many four-story buildings you see in St. Joe? So, just put that in your book.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mark.
One statement.
Come on up, sir, come on up.
My name's Chris Johnson. I live at 309 Redfish, and I moved from a place that all you guys grew up there, 42 years old. Grew up in Grayton Beach on 38. And I'll tell y'all something. I mean, I made my living my whole life building. Love it. There's good money in it. That man right there just wants to make money. You know, I mean, I don't hate him for that. But once y'all start this, it's gonna go. And if any of y'all have any doubts about that, just take a ride down 38 now and see what's happened. I grew up riding my four-wheeler on where Rosemary's at, where Watercolors is at, driving my truck out there fishing when I was in high school, till you can't even drive over there now, much less if you're a common person afford to really eat over there, live over there. I built my first house on Grayton Village Road when I got out of college, and I couldn't even afford to look at that land today. So that's just something for all you guys to think about once y'all start this.
Thank you, Chris. Anybody else? Anybody else? We'll get you next, you get the young lady next.
I'm John Strayer. I live at 41 Dolphin Street in Highland View, and I'm the police or the fire chief at the fire department. And right now, if you put 167 units out there, there's no way we can cover that. No way at all. Because we're down to one truck, and our building's right there. And if you get more than 50 buildings, you got to put a department in there. So why have a department there and one across the street at the same time? I oppose of it. It's not right. There's more places in the city than they are in Highland View.
Thank you, Mr. John. All right.
One truck.
Hello, my name's Elizabeth Davis. I live at 2162 Hayes Avenue in Highland View. Mr. Farrell, I'm sorry to be here today as well, and it's not your fault. We know you're just trying to do what's right for you and your company. But you said that you wanted to make these places for workforce, industry, police department, teachers. I've worked at the elementary school for 23 years. There's no way in the world I can pay $1,000 or $1,300 a month in rent. Any of the affordable housing, even the stuff that's been put on Northport that they say is affordable, the rent there is $957 and they say it's affordable, so most people have FHA or all this stuff that they get, HUD services and everything else, which I don't qualify for because I make too much money because I work every day. However, I live in Highland View with 4 children under the age of 12. Most of you know me. I've worked for you. I've worked with you. And that community is all about families. This morning I was sitting on my porch having my coffee, and there was a man walking up and down the road I'd never seen before with a flashlight, just looking at the rental properties across from us where there's some RVs and everything. Long story short, the people that are coming into this community that are not from here a lot of them are up to no good. They're not. And Mr. Harrison is gonna have to take the tax money that we're bringing in to get more law enforcement to patrol the area. So it's not really gonna be how much of a benefit for the taxes is it gonna be for us? Because by the time we get new fire stations, EMS services, police department, city and everything else, really how much extra money are we getting? And everybody's talking about how much money it's gonna bring in. Let's think about the people that's been here who can't afford this stuff. There's no way in the world a working community, somebody that works at McDonald's or somebody who works an average job can pay anything from $1,000 to $1,800 to $2,000. You're not thinking about the people that were here, that are part of the community. The people, there's no way you're even thinking about those people when you're talking this type of money. This community is small. When the school was there was no kind of traffic that's gonna be in a resort, and they can say whatever they want to. All it's gonna be is these tourists and people coming in here that have all kind of big money are gonna come in there and be living there, and all of us poor people that work every day, that don't have all these degrees and everything else, we're gonna be still struggling, and they're gonna be living in all this place. We need to think about the people that are here that live in Highland View, because I pretty much talk to everybody. Everybody knows I talk to everybody. I'm friends with everybody. I don't care if you're rich, poor, black or white or whatever. And nobody wants this. It's ridiculous to even think somebody would want this. And it's ridiculous to think, why are you only going to annex that one part of Highland View? You only want that part because you're going to get the tax dollars. You want to annex it into the city so you can get the tax dollars for the city. You don't want the rest of Highland View. You only want the part that's going to bring your money in.
All right, thank you, Ms. Elizabeth. All right, anybody else? Anybody else? How much time you got?
Joyce Gaines Holland,
Joyce.
279 Angelfish Street, Highland View. I own low rental property. I don't see why in the world y'all would permit somebody to come up with 4 stories in our community. We don't want this. You can see from the people in Highland View that's here today, and y'all can put a stop to this. I can't put a stop to it myself, but we don't need this. And they, like he said, somebody in Weewall drives every day. It's 24 miles to Weewall, 24 miles back. They're not gonna come and pay $1,000 or $1,300 for a place they can live when they can drive backwards and forth and rent cheaper in Weewall. This doesn't make sense. And I'm praying that y'all would put a stop to this. It will affect the property tax in Highland View. Ours is gonna go sky high. And I don't see why in the world the city would want to go out there and annex part of the property in there. I don't want mine annexed, and I own quite a lot in Highland View.
Thank you, Ms. Joyce. All right, anybody else? Anybody else?
Hi, my name's Jim Lyon. I live at 425 Redfish Street. Suzanne's my wife. We moved here 2 years ago to Highland View because we used to come here, and we stayed at Rustic Sands in Mexico Beach for a lot of winters, and we got to know the area of Highland View, and the people there are wonderful. And most of them have lived there all their life. It's a unique community. It's truly a unique community. I'm so glad I retired there. But you guys are gonna ruin it by putting a high-rise 4 stories. I don't care if it's 2 stories. There's only, the largest houses in Highland View aren't any more than 2 stories. We don't have these 3-story buildings that they've got along the highway and stuff. And it's a unique community. Everybody gets along, everybody's friendly, and they don't want this. We don't want this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jim. Anybody else? Anybody else?
My name's Gina Zimmerman. I'm at 532 Dolphin Street. I'm a transplant from South Georgia to Highland View. I've only been here about 1.5 years. The reason we chose Highland View is because of the neighborhood. It's quiet. It's family oriented. I have 8 grandchildren. They come and stay with me. If you put in a 4-story high-rise right there in that school zone, I lose my space to take my grandchildren to the water. It's unsafe. I have strangers there that I don't know. And as far as your workforce, I'm 50 years old. I've worked all my life, and I cannot afford Bayview living. I'm 4 blocks off the water because I can't afford to live on the water. So your workforce comment, it does no good for me because I can't afford it, and I've worked all my life. And I can't afford $1,000 a month. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. All right, we got a few more minutes, Anybody else? Anybody else? All right. 14.
I'm Brooks Brock. I live at 267 Marlin Street. Our community has gone to shit since the storm. If we bring in more riffraff, then we're gonna have more issues. When I moved here 11 years ago, the kids used to play in the street, ride their bicycles. The mothers and fathers used to be out there with them. We're almost scared to let our children out now because of what we have down the road from my house, especially on Marlin Street and Elizabeth Street. The store, with it opening back up where Cheap Butts used to be, it's brought a lot of bad stuff to our neighborhood. That right there is gonna bring a lot more. We can't control what we got going on in our neighborhood now. Let's not bring no more issues. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Ms. Brooks. All right.
My name is J.D. Strayer. I live at 2454 Hayes Avenue. And I thought you had to vote on this kind of situation, but I guess not. This guy is just wanting to make a lot of money, I guess. I don't know, but I oppose it. I just want y'all guys to consider what would y'all think if something like this was to be brought up in the neighborhood that y'all lived at your entire life.
Thanks, sir. Thank you, J.D. All right, anybody else? All right, we'll close it to the public. You want to say? Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. One other thing in closing, I'll be here. I'm all for, bringing progress and bringing people to our communities. We, as Mr. Hammond stated, we had a group to come before us, and they were going to build this beautiful complex over in the north part of this city. Grass in the yards, flowers, children to play, and I'll never forget this. I told them, I said, you come down here and you promised us a Harley-Davidson motorcycle, and we wound up getting a wore-out bicycle. And that's about the truth. But I wish the city would consider going in there, and they could probably put 30 homes there, nice homes. That's what you want, is nice homes. And then the people could own. But these realtors, all they got in their mind is making money. $1 in their pocket, and they don't care who they step on to do it. But anyway, I'm gonna close out with that, but I truly hate to see this come into our county here. Although I don't live here, it wouldn't be facing me, but I got a lot of good friends that live over in that neighborhood, and I'm sure they don't want it. Mr. Chairman, that's it for me today.
Anyone from the board would like to say anything before we get out? Anyone from the city?
Let me just say one thing.
You want to say it?
I just want to say that I know a lot of people that's out there in that audience today, and we haven't said anything that we're going to do bringing this thing in. I think every one of you know that as long as I've been on the board for 8 years, I've always said I'm going to work with the county, and I'm going to work with the county on this. If the county's against it, I'm against it, and that's all I have to say.
Yeah, I've kind of been quiet the whole meeting, and I came into this meeting to have an open mind because I've heard the positives, I heard the negatives. When Jim approached me with this, that Zach was proposing something in the near future, I was excited, very excited about it. And I deeply appreciate what he's done, and I know he's put a lot of money in it already. It's expensive to do this. But I wanted to hear from this community. I know a lot of you have known me all my life, and I've still got some questions. Traffic is a big concern, and I've heard the mixed, I guess, feelings about the community not being notified. I've heard that the county wasn't notified, which that's hard for me to believe. Jim, was the county notified by some type of letter or something?
I'd actually called Mr. Hammond when we first got when we first started working on the advertisement. I did make a conversation, did contact Mr. Hammond as soon as we were prepared to send the ad to the newspaper. Yes, sir.
How were y'all able to advertise before you even annexed? That's my question to Mr. Hammond.
There's an annexation process that we're going through now. It's before the board. The board makes the ultimate decision, the city commission.
But one thing I did want to say, at some point, someone is going to purchase this property and develop it for something. So we've always got to keep that in mind. That's one thing I wanted to stress to the residents in that community. But Tuesday, we'll vote to make our ultimate decision on which way we'll go. So that's all I've got.
Well, first, let me say thank you for hosting the meeting. And for the public that may have the feeling that minds were already made up or votes were already taken, that's not the case, I can assure you. The reason for the meeting is to hear from the public. And the city's gonna listen to the residents of Highland View the same as we would listen to the ones that live on my street. And I can assure you that I have learned a lot from this meeting. I heard your voice very clearly. Now the question is, well, prior to the meeting, in my mind, I was thinking, well, the city is going to move in a direction to have the income of the tax base. And then when you hear from the people that are affected by the development, you then have to decide, well, is there a way to work this out to where both sides are happy? Now, I don't know if that can happen. I'm not sure about that. But it's clear that there has to be some kind of modification to the plan. So I just want to assure the public that by coming to the workshop and being a part of the workshop, that's how the process is supposed to work, and that is how it will work. I invite you to be at Tuesday's meeting when the city decides ultimately if that's when this is taken up, and I believe it would be. You're more than welcome to come to our meeting on Tuesday as well. So that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Most of your little meetings are times it'll be Tuesday at 12.
While we're at work.
Most of your little meetings are a day before.
Everybody has jobs.
Hold on for a second. Let's get through it. Anybody else in the city got anything we need to add? Attorney, anything?
Real quick, if it would help going forward, because we like to get along. Jim and I don't get a vote, y'all get the vote, we get to make recommendations to y'all. But for 15, 16 years, developers, and I'm not talking bad about Zach at all, I like him. But developers of Barefoot, developers of Viento Beach, the Butler property that went bankrupt before they built it, have played the city against the county time and time again. We tell them that we've got 2 units an acre on the bay. We tell them we've got 3 units an acre at the Cape and on the Gulf and at St. Joe Beach. We tell them we've got 4 units an acre throughout the rest of the county. And they go to, and they say, well, we get 7 in the city, or we can get 15, or we can get 30. We need to have an agreement, or else we need to agree to disagree that the county's just gonna oppose any further annexations if we can't agree on stopping this, playing both sides against the middle on the density deal. We have density for a reason. because the residents 35, 40 years ago decided we didn't want to become what Destin had become and Bay County had become and most of the rest of the state that screwed up. And to my knowledge, the county, since the comp plan went in, retroactive to 1990, has never given a density variance. And it's worked well. And we need to try to keep, you know, a balance there going forward. I think the planner might have one thing, Mr. Chairman, behind you. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm sorry.
In your seat.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I grew up in Highland View as well, lived there most of my life. I have spoken with the owner of this development, the owner of the property. He knew the density in the county was 4 units an acre. He was informed he could have 36 units, just like anybody in this room, anybody in this county can have. We have 3 habitable floors, 4 units an acre. He knew, and not long after that is when the city was approached. And Mr. Lowry's right. There's going to come a day, maybe very soon, that that property's developed. But as long as it's in the hands of the county, it's going to be 4 units an acre, like everybody else. The county has not deviated from density that I'm aware of, and I've been here a long time. I know just about everybody in Highland View. I grew up with them. They're part of my family as well, and I definitely would not want it in my neighborhood either. That community was developed years ago. Everybody knew what it was when they moved there, and the owner knew. It's tried to change hands a couple of times just because of the density issues. And as long as the city and the county stands firm on it, there will be something nice there one day. And I think the people of Highland View will enjoy it. But just think a minute now. The county requires 2 off-street parking places per unit. Okay, if you can have 36 units, that's 72 parking spots. You take 170 and 340, you'll never get out on that road, ever. That's going to cause some humongous problems. I don't know that the city or the county really realizes what that is. You take 1.5 of barefoot cottages on about 1/3 of the property, and that's what you're going to see. That's about what it amounts to. So if you think barefoot is cluttered, this is going to be very, very cluttered. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you, sir. All right.
We advertise for other things if any city or county commissioner,
Okay.
if any city or county commissioner has any other issues. We have been working on a lot of positive things, so I don't want it just to be negative. We are going to consider at our special meeting here in a few minutes a burn ban. The state has stopped issuing burn permits, but we're looking at, because of the drought conditions and all the debris and the ditches and the trees down, about doing an emergency declaration and having a burn ban that would have to be renewed for 7-day periods. But our board's going to look at that today. Y'all may want to look at that on Tuesday.
All right, thank you, sir. Any city commissioners got anything else? County guys? All right, take this opportunity to thank everyone for coming out at this time. We're meeting adjourned. Thank you.
We're going to have a meeting here.